So welcome to Urban Agriculture. My name is Eric Chevrier. This is the first time I'm teaching this course, although I've taught at Concordia for about 10 years now, and actually taught a lot of courses related to food. I actually am multidisciplinary. I teach in different departments. So I teach in sociology, I teach in geography, in the School of Community and Public Affairs, and communication studies. The courses that I teach are related to food, social economy, and media and technology. So it's kind of a broad array of things that I'm interested in, although they kind of converge into the projects that I work on. So I'm going to show you some of the projects that I've been up to over the past while, and kind of orient you towards some of the stuff that I would actually like to incorporate into this class from some of the activities and some of the stuff that I've done in the past also. So welcome everybody. This is actually quite a large course. There's 100 students or so in this class. I also have 2 TAs that will be assisting with the class, mainly with grading, but also probably participating with us from time to time. Like you'll realize when I go through the course syllabus is this class is going to be quite an interactive course. So I'm encouraging everybody to participate in person, either by showing up to the Friday lectures and coming out possibly to the garden if you're able to do so. I'm actually working with a collective garden in Lachine. And as you'll realize, when we're learning about urban agriculture, it's all fun to do this theoretically, but actually the learning really takes place by doing. A lot of my garden experience actually comes from practice. And along with actually a lot of my colleagues will say the same thing. You know, I work with people that are actually quite specialized in horticulture or other kind of, you know, growing. And a lot of their experience, they'll say, also comes from practicing. So I'm going to highly encourage you all to get out and go visit some gardens or come to the garden in Lachine, depending where you are in the world. Hopefully some people will actually be able to participate with us in Montreal in person. Yeah, we're going to make the best out of an online course, especially a course that really pertains to actually doing things out in the field, which might be limiting. I don't know what we're going to be able to do all together, you know, as a group, but we're going to try to figure this out. And you'll realize actually I'm extremely flexible as a professor and able to adapt to different situations. And, you know, we're going to have a good time together. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to describe the course to you. I'm going to go over the syllabus, and I'm going to orient you to actually find the information for the course. Hopefully you've all received my email. So you're going to notice from the email that I have a website where I'm hosting the course, as well as I'm actually putting everything on Moodle as well. So I built a website because I've had trouble with Moodle in the past. And I'm actually teaching another class right now. Some of the students are saying they don't have access to the Moodle, which I don't really have control over. I could put things up and down, but I don't really have much control over kind of the back end of it. But I do with my own website. So it's really easy for me to control the information that's going up, update it, and make sure that everything's available to you. So the primary way that I'm going to communicate with you is actually by my website. But those of you that are actually more kind of, you know, used to Moodle, you could actually still go to the Moodle site and everything will be uploaded there also. So that's up to you how you want to interact with the course material. But I'm just going to orient you to my website. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and I'm going to show you my website and where to obtain the information for the course. Okay, so hopefully you're all seeing my website here. And if you're not, please notify me and let me know. But my website is ericchevrier.ca, and you could access the site just by kind of putting in that URL. I do see some people in the chat room. So what I'm going to do though with the chat is I'm not going to answer questions right away. I'm going to go through my presentation, and then afterwards I'm going to go through the chat just to make it a little bit easier and more fluid, so I don't have to bounce around too much. But basically, here's my website. So ericchevrier.ca, you're going to notice I'm also teaching a psychology course. I've taught in the psychology department for close to 10 years also. and did my master's in communications and psychology, but have now branched out to food-related topics, and I'm doing my PhD presently, actually, my PhD candidate who's going to be defending a thesis in the next upcoming months. Anyhow, so if you go to the site, you're going to notice a whole bunch of different things on the site. Here it says courses at the top, but you'll also notice that there's a slider. You can actually access the urban agriculture course just by going on the slider here. And you're going to see here, this is the course, or you could just go to courses, and also you're going to be able to see that you could get to the course that way as well. If you go to take the course, you're going to come up to a page where it actually links you right to the course itself. Just to let you know that if you take the other way, you might be asked to register, and you don't need to register to my site. I'm not collecting any information or anything like that, but just to show you, if you click on here where it says take this course, it's going to bring you to a registration page, unless that was actually fixed on my site. Oh yes, it was. Great. So no longer does it bring you to registration. That's perfect. Wonderful. So if at any point you're in my on my website and asks you to register to the site, you don't need to register. You could just access all of the information for free. This is where I'm posting the information, but like I said, I'm going to make it available on Moodle also. So just to let you know a little bit about the course and kind of orient you, I've made a Facebook group so that we could communicate outside of class a little bit. You know, I don't want to take up too much of your personal time, but those of you that actually are, you know, highly engaged into urban agriculture and want to share either, you know, different posts or different resources or other things like that and chat outside of class, I highly encourage you to join the Facebook group and to participate in these conversations. But I'm not going to require you to do so, so it doesn't count for any extra points, or you're not going to be penalized if you don't participate in the Facebook group. This is just more for, you know, getting some kind of a social environment where we can connect with each other and maybe feel like a cohort. I also put a link here, and it says contact Eric and email your assignments here. So this will actually link you right to mail to address, and I've set up an email account for this course. So it's urbanagriculture@ericchevrier.ca. So I would like you all to email that, email address for this course, just because I'm teaching another course also, and I have a bunch of projects going on, and my main email account gets flooded, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with when I have too many people emailing one account. And there's about 100 students in the urban agriculture course. So it's going to be very difficult to keep up with everything if you're emailing my main account. Here I know that I could actually check this account, and I could make sure that either, you know, I'm receiving your assignments or I'm responding to you correctly. So here's a little bit of a course description, but mainly just to describe to you what we're going to be doing in this course. So food is actually at the center of a lot of social, political, and economic issues. It seems to be, in a lot of studies that have come out recently, one of the leading contributors to climate change. You know, we could notice this in places like Brazil, or, you know, different places in South America, where actually agriculture is one of the main culprits as to why the Amazon rainforest is being cut down. So companies like Cargill and other kind of large multinational companies are, you know, helping clear cut certain areas of the rainforest, because they're in search of arable soil, and basically planting soy in a lot of these regions. And then from the soy, basically a lot of that is to feed animals so that we can have livestock for meat consumption. This is a practice that is actually highly problematic, because the rainforest is a very important carbon sink. It's actually things that remove carbons from the atmosphere. But at the same time, the practices that we're using in agriculture, especially in clear cutting, and basically what they call slash and burn techniques, where they're just kind of like slashing different crops and setting fires so that we can have carbons in order to grow food more arably in the soil. These are highly problematic practices, and they're leading contributors to climate change. You know, as we're noticing right now, if you've been following the news, San Francisco looks like kind of a scene from, you know, a science fiction movie, because there's right now like kind of like a haze over the city because of all the fires that are taking place in California. We noticed actually over the summer, there's been fires in places like Siberia, where the climate is usually cold. So we're seeing effects of climate change, and much of this is because of the way that we produce food. So food is a very serious political and economic topic at the current moment. We need to change the way that we produce food. We also need to change the way that we consume food also. We basically need to change our food system. One of the, I guess, approaches that has been looked at over the past while, or one of the main concerns, has been about feeding the world. So you'll hear, quite prevalently that we need to produce more food because people are starving across the world. And it's true, actually, according to the World Agriculture Association, the Food and Agriculture Association, we have close to 1 billion people. There's about between 800 and 900 million people starving across the world. And if we actually look at not just meeting certain dietary needs, but actually looking at malnutrition in general, there's over 1 billion people in the world that are malnourished. We have about 7 billion people now in the world. So close to about 1/7 or even more than that are not meeting their dietary requirements. So why is this the case? A lot of people, and especially industry, is focused on we need to produce more food. And we kind of hear this all the time. We hear from major corporations that we need, more technology, and we need more efficiency, we need GMOs, and we need all of these things to, augment our food production. The problem is that we probably could feed the world over about 1.5 times with the current amount of food that's available today. So, this is not a matter of we need to produce more food, but we actually need to change the economic and political conditions whereby food is actually being produced and distributed to the world. The reality is this is an element of social justice where people across the world are not getting treated in the same manner, and this is highly reflective in food. Also, if we're looking at other important topics of today, food is a very good way to understand how structural racism exists. So our food system that was set up largely on actually colonization and people coming to North America here, if we're talking about Canada, but in other places in the world is also prevalent too. But people from Europe came over to North America and South America, and actually with them brought slaves from Africa who are put to work on plantations. And if we trace the history of food, slavery and food have gone hand in hand. And a lot of people kind of neglect this fact because, a lot of people purport that capitalism is actually about emancipating slavery and then having people choose their own labor. But the reality is actually the reason why a lot of wages were kept low is because food costs have been artificially kept low since the beginning of capitalism. So slaves have worked on plantations and in farms, and governments have subsidized food. And actually, if you look at what happened in Canada over the summer, it became extremely apparent that we still have institutional racism in our food system here in Canada, because the large discussion at the beginning of the year is how do we get migrant laborers to come over to Canada during a pandemic so that they could work in appalling conditions in our farms so that we could produce food for our own consumption, but mainly for export markets also. And this is, I guess the COVID situation has made visible a lot of hidden things that we've taken for granted before. So food is not just a biological need, it's the way that we interact with each other. It's the way that we understand class and gender relations. It's the way that we define ourselves a lot of the time. It's actually one of the first things that we have done to possibly rebel against our parents when we're young. When we're developing, the first thing that you could start to refuse from your parents is food. And kids start to do this at a young age and start to adapt their eating habits based on gaining autonomy from their parents. So food is a very important topic. And in this course, we're going to particularly look at food production, but with in mind, looking at cities and urban environments as a way of producing, but also distributing and interacting with our food system. So part of this course is actually looking at histories of urban agriculture, but at the same time, it's actually about understanding the food system in general. So we're going to take a theoretical approach to actually start to address some of these issues with food, but at the same time, I want us to get our hands dirty. So, a very great metaphor for gardening. But at the same time, I do want you to start to participate in actually food production, either through your own kind of collective gardens, different projects that maybe you have in your community. Some of you might have balcony gardens or backyard gardens or other things like that. So I'm going to highly encourage you to participate in those endeavors. At the same time, actually work with a collective garden that I'm going to entice you to come to. And this is in Lachine in Montreal. So hopefully you're going to be able to come out and actually learn firsthand from what we're doing in urban agriculture. But at the minimal basis, and actually starting today, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you try to grow a plant from seed and try to cultivate it so that it grows into something. Now, where do you get a seed from? Well, if you eat any kind of fruits, you have seeds in them. And it's really easy to take a seed from a fruit and then plant that and have it grow. So if you have a tomato at home, you could actually get a seed from a tomato. Yes, it will grow. You could do that with any of the fruits that you have at your house. Now, if we're actually looking at implementing this in the bigger picture, well, we're going to notice that the growing season is now coming towards an end, although there's still a lot that could be planted outside at this point. You're not going to grow tomatoes that are going to come into full fruition outside at this point, but you might be able to do so indoors if you make the conditions right. So we're going to be discussing this in a little bit more detail, but at the bare minimum, I'm going to give you activities to do from week to week about how to grow food, even if it's inside or whatever the case is, whatever you have access to. So course format. Well, we're going to do this on Zoom. This is a course that I think is best done in person, probably outdoors at a garden, but we don't really have these conditions to do so. So I'm going to meet you all on Zoom every week. Those of you that can't make it, that's fine. We're going to try to figure out other means of you being able to participate, and we'll discuss that later on. But the expectation is that you come every week to class and you participate in the conversations, you keep up with the readings, and we have a good time in class together, having really great discussions. I'm also going to be hopefully bringing some of you to the Kovic Garden, which is actually in Lachine. I'm going to show you some pictures of that today. And hopefully you could actually learn by getting involved and doing this on your own also, with assistance of us. But actually, there's a lot of projects that we're going to be looking at implementing, even at the end of the summer, basically into fall. We've set up conditions at this garden where we are able to grow, up until close to the first frost and maybe a little bit after that, because we're building greenhouse structures in the garden that will actually make the plants resist cold temperatures, and hardy plants will still be able to grow, hopefully, up until the middle of December, depending on how the weather goes. But then also, it's going to give us an early start to the year because we have greenhouse structures built. This garden, what we're looking at doing is implementing a couple other things. So we're building more structures this year. The best time to actually build for the next year is actually in the fall, so that you're ready to go for the upcoming year right away in the spring. Also, Kovic has a permaculture garden where I'm going to encourage people to actually participate, possibly to redesign this garden. So, a group of people put together a permaculture garden, but kind of left it neglected for a little while. And we're looking to revamp this and make it functional for the community. So here are some things that hopefully you'll be able to get involved with. So some of the lectures are not just going to be me lecturing, but we're going to be doing activities together. I might have some guest speakers. We might be able to do a field trip depending on what happens during the pandemic, but it would be really amazing for us to do some kind of a biking tour of different urban farms or urban gardens, whatever you want to call them, in the community, in and around either Lachine or actually NDG has some pretty amazing projects going on there also. You want to follow with the Incredible Edibles gardens. They have actually a bunch of urban gardens in different places throughout the community in NDG. Anyhow, look, so we'll see how things go, and I want to find out from you, is this actually possible? Are you in Montreal currently, or are you somewhere else in the world? And how many people would be able to participate if we do these kind of activities? So you should be showing up every Friday between 11:45 and 2:30. If you're not able to make it because you're not, in this time zone, or if there's other things going on, I will find a way for you to participate in the course anyway if you can't make it to our Friday session. But please let me know, and we're going to have a conversation about what to do about this. All right, so just to go over the grading scheme, I know right now I'm kind of giving you a lot of information. So I'm going to get through this, and then we're going to have a conversation together. It's going to be easier than going back and forth for now. The course evaluation, I'm going to have you do two blog posts. Okay, so blog post 1, blog post 2. One is actually about identifying and writing about an inspiring urban agriculture project in Montreal. So I don't know if you've seen on our Facebook group, those of you that have joined it, there was a post actually made by, I forget who it was, about somebody in Montreal that's growing bananas. So apparently there's a variety of banana that could be cold resistant given the right conditions. So, this is quite inspiring altogether. And, this could be potential for a blog. Other inspiring projects, there's, some amazing urban agriculture projects going on in Montreal. There's some in Lachine that I've told you about, but there's also, Butts Masset, that actually have now developed an urban farm also there. Other groups in and around, I live more in the Southwest and have for the past while, so I know a lot more about the projects going on there. But there are some across Montreal, like even Lufa Farm. I don't know if anyone has heard of that, but they're a rooftop garden that basically do hydroponics and are located in Montreal. And I think, to my knowledge, the new location is the largest rooftop farm in, I think, North America, if I'm not mistaken. But anyhow, so they're a significant contributor to our urban agriculture environment here also. So we're going to be doing 2 blog posts. Why am I saying blog posts? Because I want to make this fun and exciting for you. I want the writing to kind of match some things that you could do in the real world. Some of you might not go on to be academics and write academic papers, but actually might go on to actually understand food or study it, and maybe want to be bloggers or other things like that. So part of what I'm going to teach you is actually how to construct a blog, but not based in conjecture, based on actual tangible research and important information that you've derived, that is a well-researched blog. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail when we get to the assignments. I'm going to have you do 2 reading responses as well. Okay, so reading response, you have to keep up with the readings. Halfway through, I'm going to give you a question, and you have about a week to then go about answering the question and basically provide it back to me like any kind of a paper. So you're going to be responding to 2 series of questions, one around the middle and one at the end of the course. I want you to participate with the Kovic Garden and or another urban agriculture project. Okay, so I could be flexible depending on what's going on in your area of the world. I know that some people might have difficulties, because of the state of politics or the state of, the economy or the state of the pandemic, depending where you are in the world. But, those of you that could participate either with me at the Kovic Garden or in other places, if you have a garden and you don't reside in Montreal, but you're in Toronto and you can work with a garden there, then that's great also. So I'll be flexible with the projects, but I do want you to get involved somehow into some kind of an urban agriculture project. So the expectation is that you should be doing about 10 hours in the garden or in a garden between now and the end of the session. And it doesn't have to be in one shot. It really depends. We can negotiate how that functions. The other thing is I'm going to allot some of your grade distribution to participation and reading notes. As you notice, I'm not giving you any exams. I have talked to students, and a lot of people are quite concerned about proctored exams or other exams when you're writing this on the internet and someone's spying on you and your camera as you're writing it. I know that people have expressed to me that that doesn't make them feel comfortable and they don't perform very well in those conditions. So I'm not going to put you under those conditions, but what I need to do is make sure that you're keeping up with the readings, okay? So what I'm going to ask you to do, though, is take reading notes. So here you can see kind of the description of what I'm looking for, but You're going to be taking notes from your readings, and I'm asking you for handwritten notes or something that's authentic. You know, if you're using a tablet, you can kind of do handwritten notes on a tablet if you need to, and then provide them to me. So basically send them to me each week so that I know that you're keeping up with the readings. So why am I saying handwritten notes is because I know if we're doing this on the computer, you could easily copy and paste, and you could kind of share information with each other. And I have to prevent people from doing that, and this is one way that I could do so.
I have a question.
Yeah. Okay. So here, give me maybe let me go through this, and then I'm going to field questions afterwards because I know a lot of people probably have questions. Is that okay?
Sure. No problem.
Okay. So look, I'm just going to go through all of the information, and then I'm going to have a whole question and answer period. And it'll be a lot easier to address all the questions because I can't really see the notes or any of the discussion that's taking place there right now. Thank you, Chloe. So I'll get back to you. So there's 12 classes, okay? I'm asking you to come to class and participate in the discussions. So basically do the activities, which will be worth 0.5. And the reading notes themselves are worth 0.5 also. There's 12 classes. Since it's worth 10%, I'm basically just going to make it proportionate to 10. It's very easy to do mathematically. And, you know, give it that if you miss a reading or two, it's not going to significantly impact your grade. As long as you're keeping up and doing it, you know, the majority of the time, then you'll be okay. If you can't come to class, then you're expected to at least go to the templates that I'll be showing you where they exist. But you're going to go to the templates and then basically just do this on your own and send it to me within 48 hours. And then you can get full marks for the class if you're not here, but you do have to keep up with the readings. So I'm just going to go through the other assignments, and then I promise I'll answer all of your questions and give you as much time to talk as you need to. So Inspiring Urban Agriculture Project, the blog is about 600 to 1,000 words. You're going to find somebody in the community that has an inspiring project. It could be people that are doing urban agriculture, you know, backyard gardeners that have very significant gardens, or people that are doing collective gardening or other things like that. So you will interview somebody and then write a blog of about 600 to 1,000 words. And I'm going to go over this in more detail and provide you a template as to what I'm looking for and how I'm going to be grading this also. So you're going to be designing also, well, the other blog is Designing an Urban Garden or an Urban Farm, whatever we want to call it. So you're going to be learning through the semester about companion planting, about soil remediations, about actually how to plant a garden. And one of the blogs is actually to entice people to learn how to do this. You know, I would highly encourage people to not have lawns, but to actually have gardens on their properties, or, you know, in their apartments, or whatever the case is. This is really easy to accomplish. So this blog will be to gearing people to understand actually how to put together an urban garden. Or, you know, maybe a collective garden also. There are ways to get different areas of Montreal, either, you know, from people that have, like, churches are a good spot, actually they have property. Other kind of public locations like schools and other things are good ways to get collective gardens going. So we're going to put a guide together about actually how to get either a backyard garden or some kind of an urban farm going. That's your second blog. So reading responses, like I said, there's going to be 2 series of questions that I'm going to give you, and you're going to answer these questions in about 500 to 1,000 words. Then participating with the Kovic Garden and or another urban farming garden, depending where you are in the world. But I do want you to participate for about 10 hours throughout the semester, okay? I'm not going to go and count your hours to a T here, but I do want you to get involved because part of the learning of urban agriculture has to be about doing. This is the way that you learn how to, you know, produce food. Okay. Let me do some question and answer about what I've done so far, and then I'm going to go into the schedule with you because I know that there are some questions that you have at this point. So if you want to, you could actually chime in to either the chat, or you could just open your microphones and talk to me from there. So Chloe, I know you had something. I don't know if you want to reiterate what you were saying.
My brother is, okay. regular had the water on, milk, whatever. So, wait, I forgot my question.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh yeah, it was no, I forgot.
Okay. Well, if you think of it, let me know again. I see some questions in the chat here, so I'm just going to get to them quickly, and then if you think of it, just let me know again. And I see, actually, there's quite a bit in the chat. So, yes, apparently I was invisible at the beginning. I will usually give like a couple minutes for people to sign in at the beginning. So, you know, the class starts at 11:45, although I probably start like a couple minutes after just to make sure people get into the room. Okay, so that was from the beginning. People, yes. So just, I see it crashed. We're gonna have some technical issues from time to time. I taught a course over the summer. I taught food and sustainability. There was one point during the course that my computer crashed completely. So if ever that takes place, don't worry too much. I actually have an external recorder here. So I'm actually gonna be recording the class, and then I'll make it available to you as well. If it crashes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to address this on Moodle, on my website, and on Facebook. I'm just going to let you know what happened. Hopefully this is not an issue. It only happened once to me, and actually I was able to get the Zoom link back up and running within like 2 minutes. But, you know, who knows what could happen on an online class. So if anything goes wrong and I disappear and maybe the Zoom link crashes, just try to sign back in. And if there's an issue, then either visit my website, Facebook, or Moodle, and I'll just give you information as to what's going on. Oh, thank you. So apparently you have nice hair as a person. I don't know if that was a comment to me. Thank you.
I had a question about the urban project for the garden.
Yes.
So basically I started doing in my house like a microgreen like setup.
Yep.
Like to grow it inside my house. Can that count as a project, or it has to be like outside?
Yeah, so I would like people to get involved in some kind of collective.
Community, okay.
Yeah, so I want it rooted in the community. Now look, we could have a discussion actually about kind of catering one of your blogs to the project that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we could discuss that in the bigger picture. But I want people to get involved in some kind of a community project, because it's really great to do things individually, but if we're going to reproduce kind of the communities, it would be really great to root ourselves within that too.
Okay.
Now,
Thank
look,
you.
if it's not possible for you to do this in the community, then we'll figure out a solution to it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And great on you, Vicky, for starting a seedling project, or not a seedling, sorry, a microgreen project.
Thanks.
Chloe, I think you have your hand up again. Yeah.
I remembered my question. I always read the stuff, but I've never really been good at writing notes for what I'm reading.
Okay.
I read, but I'm not good in the note-taking part about reading.
Mm-hmm. So I need to measure, or I need to assess whether you're doing the readings or not. So I would be appreciated if you could just take some basic notes. It doesn't have to be elaborate or any kind of study notes. But we could have a conversation about this after, Chloe, if you want to. We could figure out the best method of you showing me that you've done the readings, and maybe there's a better approach, and I'm willing to explore other options if that's the case.
And also, what kind of plants would grow during this time outside?
Yeah, so there's actually quite a few plants that could still be grown. So the plants are cold hardy plants. Spinach, actually, you could start from seed presently, and they'll grow. You could actually do radishes, you could do lettuce, you could do kale, you could do broccoli. All of these things will actually start from seed and grow, and even kale will last, you know, up until the first snow, and sometimes even past that. Sorry, go ahead.
Are there any community gardens that are good in NDG? Because that's where I live.
There are community gardens in NDG, yes. There are actually some that are administered by the depot, and as well, Transitions NDG have a number of community gardens as well.
Okay, so there's some nearby. What's the address of the one that you're going to be going to?
Yeah, so the Kovic Garden is actually, it's off of Duff Court Street. There's not a physical address, but basically it's like, I think 16th Avenue and Duff Court is around the general location. It's actually really close to NDG. It would probably take you like 15, 20 minutes to get over to the
Is it like by bike?
It takes me like about 15 minutes to bike to NDG from Lachine. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Wonderful, but we're going to get into that in more detail. So I'll actually get into the garden itself and see who could actually participate with us too. Thank you. All right, I'm going to keep going through the comments here, and then I'm going to get back to some questions also. I saw somebody raise their hand. I think Jeremy did. Do you want to ask the question?
I was just gonna ask, when were we supposed to meet at like the gardens? Like that would be planned?
Yes, so we're gonna have to figure this out, and I'm gonna tell you the days that I'm available. It would be really great if you come during the days that I go. Although there are actually people working at the garden even when I'm not there, because there are some people that are not, professors teaching courses right now, but are actually doing their garden work as their primary labor.
Okay.
Actually, the person that runs the garden has a PhD in agriculture and is highly knowledgeable, and actually would really appreciate people to go whenever they have a chance. But don't worry, Jeremy, and anybody else that's thinking about, the logistics of the garden, we'll figure this out. And yeah, very nice Pikachu doll, I guess it's what it is. Great stuff. Interesting. Okay, so a couple more comments here. So the West is doing it on purpose. Poverty, divide, conquer. Okay, I'm not sure what that entails, but yes, actually the West is doing quite a bit in urban agriculture, but there's a bunch of other places that are doing that also. So it's not just in the west part of Montreal, but actually all over Montreal. I just saw somebody else raise their hand, so if you want to ask a question, go ahead.
How do you want us to document the hours that we spend in the community garden?
Yeah, so don't worry about that right now, because we're going to actually go through the assignment. And look, I'm projecting a very ambitious project here about everybody coming to Lachine. I don't know if that's possible. So we're going to actually try to figure out how to make this functional for all of you, that you could get involved and do this in a meaningful way, either by coming to Lachine or another location. Like, to be honest, this is going to be a lot about trust. And, if you're not coming to Lachine, then I'm going to have to trust that you're actually doing the work of another garden. If you are coming to Lachine, then hopefully I'm going to be there to actually see and be able to interact with the people that are coming out. I do see two more people that have their hands up. I can't see your names, so if you just want to chime in, go ahead. And who?
Hello?
Yep.
Was that me with the hand up? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it's hard for me to see who has their hand up, so.
Oh, that's okay. I had a question about the note taking. Maybe I missed it. So say, for example, we're taking handwritten notes. Is there a format that you want us to submit it specifically? Or...
Well, one of the easiest way is take a picture with your phone and just email it to me.
Oh, okay. Perfect. All right.
And look, it's just for me to make sure that you're keeping up with the readings.
No, yeah, it's understandable.
Wonderful. And I'm not going to be grading the content. Although if you don't give me notes from like a random course of something else, then it won't be acceptable. But if you just, if you take basic notes, you'll be fine.
Okay. And I had another question. So will you provide, is there a certain schedule that you would like us to come into the Lachine Garden, or like, are you going to provide like more information regarding that, or should we like look at it all on your website and whatnot?
Yeah, so a combination of all of that. Okay. But I will tell you the days that I'm going to be there. So hopefully people will come out on the days that I'm there. Okay. If you can't make it during the times that I'm there, you can actually go at other times as well, because there's going to be other people at the garden. Okay. And the other, thing as well is, I will put information on my website and other things. We're going to try to follow as best as possible a schedule, but yeah, we'll try to be as flexible as possible and make sure this works.
Okay, and should we be logging field notes and whatnot, and like marking down the dates that we go and stuff?
That would be preferable, yes. So okay. I'm going to have you do some kind of an autoethnography about your experience with the garden, but then link this to the bigger picture also, as what kind of issues are we addressing at the garden? or it could be other things like you want to do some kind of an expose on a certain plant that's being grown, and show people in the community how to harvest this plant, how to grow this plant, as well as how to transform it so that people could actually buy these things at the markets that we have.
Okay.
One example is we have red amaranth, and a lot of people don't know how to use that. A lot of people actually don't use it or won't purchase it at the markets. But if we have some kind of video or blog or some kind of post about how to use red amaranth and how to transform it, maybe people will be more enticed to actually buy this at the markets.
Okay.
So these projects also, it's not just about coming to the garden and doing physical labor, but it could be about, bigger picture stuff also.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we're going to get more into detail about that also. I know this is kind of just a general overlook, and we're going to get into the specifics at some point. I still see some messages. There's 41 of them that I'm going to try to go through here. And I know that some people might have questions and want to just chime in, because I know some people raised their hand, but I don't see who has or not. So I'm going to go through these questions, but at the same time, if someone wants to chime in, go for it. Too late to plant garlic? No. Actually, garlic should be planted very soon, but it's not too late. I haven't planted my garlic yet for next year. Can you plant spinach or lettuce? Yes, you can. Yeah, Jeremy, thanks for that post. I'm not going to get into illegal substances, but although you could work for dispensaries and actually do growing there if you want to, and I know that some of these places we're hiring, which are kind of legal grow ops. Probably too late for that, Jeremy. Yeah, so we're not going to get into the details on illegal substances, but yeah, anyhow, okay. Bananas, yes, bananas. We can't really plant bananas currently, or pineapples. These are tropical fruits, although there are possibilities of having them grow in our climates in different conditions. This would not be the time to plant it. Address of Lachine Garden is, like I said, at the corner of about 16th Avenue and Duff Court. It doesn't have a physical location though. And then I see a lot of thing about growing marijuana, which I guess we're not going to get into in this course. And some of you might find that unfortunate, but I can't promote growing anything that the Quebec government is deeming illegal. And I know we could debate whether that's appropriate or not, but anyhow. Zoom is breaking up. Yes, that happens from time to time. I'm actually recording this on an external microphone, so if there's glitches, you're going to get a succinct recording at least later on. Constitutional debate, great. So apparently you're getting into more of this than I noticed. Great stuff. So field trip in the US. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do a field trip in the USA, but maybe we could do one around Montreal. But I highly encourage all of you to do your own field trips if necessary also. And then I see some chitter chatter amongst you all, which is okay, great stuff. So do we have to be exclusive in Montreal? No, it could actually be in other places. So if you're in Vancouver and you want to get involved in a project there, that's wonderful, great stuff. So you can choose.
Post
Yep.
Something in Vancouver or near Vancouver.
Yeah, wonderful. And I know that there's actually quite inspiring projects there. Somebody that I've actually met is someone named Curtis Stone that is kind of doing spin farming in different locations and actually has written and published on this. But there's other people that have put together some wonderful projects also. So yeah, for sure, wonderful. Do you have a specific project that you're working with, or it was just curious?
I'm not actually living in Vancouver. I'm living on Salt Spring, but I'm working on some projects here.
Okay.
But I know people that have urban gardens in Vancouver.
Okay, wonderful. Great. And interestingly, Jeremy Loveday, who's actually a councillor of Victoria, used to go to Concordia, and we used to do kind of political things together a long time ago, but actually has informed me a little bit about what they're doing in Victoria, and they're actually putting together very interesting urban agriculture projects there too. So across the world, this is becoming more popular, and I would say probably the pandemic has a little bit to do with this, but it seems that actually people are connecting more with their food in a bigger picture also, which I highly encourage you all to do, is to reappropriate food back into your lives and reconnect with food in ways that are meaningful for you and for the community. All right, So I'm just going to keep going through these notes here and see if there's any valid questions that I should answer, or just if it's some people chatting. So yes, you could participate in your rural area. Here we're talking about urban agriculture and less about rural agriculture, although the two are somewhat connected, because we're going to look at suburban farming also, and things that are actually connected to cities, even though they might not be kind of in the downtown core. And then I see some other kind of chattering here. Can't find the syllabus on the website. Well, basically the website technically is the syllabus itself. So this page here is exactly how I would have a syllabus. I could just create a PDF with the same information, and it's pretty much the same thing. So when you go to my website, this is the syllabus itself. So the books, I'm gonna get to that also. The books should be on reserve. I made them on reserve at the library, and hopefully that they actually got them and are available to you. Like I said, I have a Facebook group, and you could all participate however you want also. So, you know, you could share information with each other if necessary. Can I type my reading response on the computer? Well, we're gonna, if handwriting is an issue, let me know. Hopefully this has not been a skill that's lost because of computers. So hopefully you could still do, you know, handwritten notes, but if not, then we'll figure something out, but we can discuss that. All right, field trip's great. Okay, great, I see some chattering. I don't know if there's any kind of questions here for me. How many books are there? There's 3 books, and we're gonna read bits and pieces of them. And I see some people talking together. So hopefully, I think I've answered most of your questions here.
I have a question that hasn't been answered yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna get off the notes for now. If you have a question, just raise your hand and chime in. I see Chloe and I see Lucy. So go ahead.
Will there be slides for the class?
Yeah, from time to time, there's gonna be slides, but to describe what I'm gonna be doing is, it's going to be a combination of me giving a lecture as well as me doing activities with you all. So during the lecture, I'm going to have usually either slides or something that I'm going to be lecturing from, but I'm going to make this into a video also so that you can always go back to the lecture portion as well.
So since there's no like exam, are we going to be tested on the stuff in the lectures, or is it just for us so that we can use it in the assignments?
So yes, look, actually, and when we get into more detail, so you have your reading responses that you actually have to incorporate things from the class. So things from the lecture, things from the reading. Basically, the lecture will clarify a lot of the reading, explain it to you basically coming from my point of view, and then hopefully, you know, elaborate a little bit more on the topics that you're actually going to be reading about. So you will use those then, but also, as you could see in the blogs, I want you to incorporate stuff from the class also. So not that you're just making up a blog from scratch, but you're actually going to be using the material that we're actually reading about. Okay, I see Jay and I see Lucy that have their hand up also. So
I was just wondering, are the books going to be available through the Moodle in reserves?
I've made the books available through the library, so I'm assuming that's
Okay.
I don't know how all these things connect, because I tell the library one thing and then they say, okay, we'll do it, and then I don't know how it's accessible to you.
Okay, so essentially, well, I could explain it if you like.
Sure.
So essentially, if you go onto your Moodle page, if you look in the right side bar when you click on the course, I forget the course code for this, there should say course reserves, and if you click on that, you'll log in with your Concordia name, and then you can access like the books and stuff
Okay.
for this course, or just like readings and whatnot. So I don't know if they'll be there, but
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Lucy. I'm going to take a look. On my end, it's a little bit different, though, because I actually have the back end of Moodle. Basically, the first thing it'll ask me on the right-hand side of the screen is to edit or not edit the Moodle page. So it might look a bit different on my end from your end. But anyhow, I'm going to figure this out. I did ask the library, so they should have everything on Course Reserve. I don't know how that connects to Moodle, but I'll try my best to do so. But look, you know, if you ask the library, you go to the library and chime in this course, it'll be on reserve there at least. and then I'll try to do my best to connect the two.
Okay. Is the library open though?
Well, to my knowledge, the library is physically open, but I don't know if students have access to it presently.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm actually kind of not necessarily kept up with all of the information about how Concordia is functioning internally. I basically just get messages about the expectations that are put onto me.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for that. So I see Jay.
Hey, do you hear me?
Yep.
I have two questions. The first one is for the garden assignment. I wanted to know if I can do it at my place because I was already planning to do that, to grow herbs and like veggies for the kitchen. Would that be
Yes.
okay?
So I would like people to connect with a community project, and or we could discuss this in the bigger picture. If your garden could connect with a community project, that could be something. But what I want to show people also, it's not just about our individual production, but our collective production that makes a big difference in transforming our food systems.
So it wouldn't be adequate.
Well, it could be adequate for another project. And as you can see, some of the blogs might be interesting to do it. So maybe
Okay.
the Inspiring Urban Agriculture project is what you're doing in your backyard. So that could be a
Okay.
possibility. And actually designing a garden or an urban farm could actually be designing your backyard if you really want to.
Oh, okay, perfect.
We
And
can
my
incorporate this.
Mhm.
But I do want people in the larger picture to be able to go into the community and see what's going on there also. But look, we'll talk about this in more detail because I know that certain conditions will make it difficult for people to do that. So I'm willing to be flexible when necessary. And we could talk about this when we go over the assignment.
Okay, and the second question is in regard to the writings. I prefer on the computer just to organize my thought and also keep records, but is it possible to do it on the computer and just show highlightings and writing on margins from the readings? Because I print usually the readings.
Well, this is going to be difficult for me to be able to prove that that's authentic. So if you could show me a way that you could have authentic material, because here's the thing is that anybody could buy a book that's been highlighted already or borrow it from somebody.
I print
need to
them.
make sure that you're doing the readings. And look, if there's another way to assess that, I'm open to it.
Okay.
The best way for me though is if you do handwritten notes, I know that it's coming from you. It's it's authentic, unless you're paying someone to take notes for you, and it's a totally different story. But hopefully you're not all doing that, and you're actually doing the readings because you will enjoy them.
Okay, thank you.
But look, we could talk about this also in the bigger picture if it's an issue. Try it for the first time and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work out too well, then we could figure out another solution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I see some more people with their hands raised.
Hello.
Yes, hey.
Hi, my name is Bill.
Hi, Bill.
I'm involved with Green Chinatown Collective Garden.
Wonderful.
And we actually have smart pots, many planted, and we have space in others. So if anyone is in the Plateau Montreal, Rosemont area, we have garden space. If you want to come and participate and plant your plants, we're in that location, Masson Street and Parthenaire.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. So that could be an option if people are in the Plateau area and you want to volunteer at the garden with Bill. Bill, I don't know if Satoshi Aikida or Janet Lam have worked on projects within Chinatown with you.
Yes, they are the founders of Green Chinatown Montreal.
Okay.
I am the current coordinator of that garden, and Janet's still participating in that garden.
Okay.
But we had to move up to the plateau. The Chinese hospital originally had the garden set up about 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And now we're in Plateau, Montreal on the Masson Street location.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for that information. I remember talking to Satoshi actually about the project itself, and I'm really glad to hear an update from it because I haven't really found out much about the project since it got started a long time ago. So thank you, Bill. And as we could see, there's a lot of projects going on in Montreal. So I'll be able to interact with the people that come to the Kovic Garden, maybe I could come out to some of the other ones also. So I'd like to see the Chinatown project, and maybe I could come visit your project, Bill, also.
Yes, I can post some photos of what its current incarnation looks like. We're in partnership with Ruelle Verte, which is Plateau Montreal City, plus the neighboring construction school. So we're a three-way partnership that has beautified a dead-end kind of street. And they have assisted by building planters out of cement for us to keep the cars and the city removal, snow removal tractors out of this space. So it's a nice setup there for us. If you want the group, if it's not too far, we can be part. It's near a bicycle path too.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Bill. I think there was a couple other people questions or wanted to address things also. So if you want,
I have a question.
yes.
I forget my question. Oh wow.
Okay.
It's more about the note taking.
Yep.
But I'm kind of lost because like I came late. Sorry, because I didn't see everything get uploaded and everything. So yeah, I remember my first question. Oh, okay. The Moodle. I don't see you on Moodle. I'm confused. Maybe you explained that beforehand. But like in Moodle, you don't show up as a course for me at all.
So
even though I've been in this class like before, like I signed up months ago, I still don't see you on the side.
Okay, interesting. So I've updated the site and I've actually uploaded a number of things to Moodle. And it seems that sometimes students will tell me that they don't have access to it. So I usually just inform the department and then hopefully they fix it. Now, the easiest solution is for me to tell you just to go to my website, ericchevrier.ca, and you can get all of the information from the course there. Concordia has asked all of the professors to actually upload everything to Moodle, even if we're using outside sources. So I'm doing that, and I know everything is there, and I don't know why you wouldn't have access to it. But look, if this becomes an issue, we'll let the department know, and hopefully they could make sure that you're added to the Moodle list.
Okay, and about the note taking, I'm just a bit confused. If you wouldn't mind just going over like a very, very like quick, like why isn't it like, I don't get it, like what's happening? Because everyone's saying they have to write, and then you can't type notes. I'm confused.
Yeah. So look, to be as simple as possible here, I want you all to keep up with the readings.
Okay.
One way that I could do that is I could actually give you all exams and make sure you're studying it.
Okay.
Another way actually is by me making sure that you're actually doing the readings and taking notes, by basically giving me something authentic that I know is not copied and pasted on the computer. Look, I know especially that we have a Facebook group for the site. You could all contact each other very easily, and one person could actually do the notes for everybody really, and it could be easily copied and pasted. Not that you would do that.
The only problem I have with that is that I don't write notes. I can't write notes because my handwriting's atrocious. So like I would have to write the notes and then copy it on my computer. So I always write notes on my computer. So like, that's why. Like I'll find a way if anyone else, if they like whoever else only can write, like type, but like cause there's no way I can write notes. I just never written notes for the past couple of years.
Okay.
And I also have a bone in my wrist that's displaced. So
Yeah.
like it's just awful handwriting.
Okay, look, so the people, if this is a major issue and, you know, if there's limitations towards this, let me know and we'll talk about this personally about what to do. Look, in general, it's not that I'm trying to make you do something that, you know, is usually out of your comfort zone. I'm trying to figure out a way that this could be authentic. And I don't want people to just copy and paste stuff and share it with each other. Not that you all would do that, but I have to prevent things, you know, and I think getting on top of it at the beginning is the easiest way. So if it's very difficult for you because of mobility or whatever the case is to do handwriting, then we'll figure this out. Maybe stick around at the end of the class and we'll talk about what to do about this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And if anybody else is in a similar condition, just stick around after class. You know, if it's a matter of you just saying, I don't like taking notes by hand, please do so just for this one time, because it'll make everything easier. And, you know, even though, yes, this is the generation of computers, it is good to still know how to write by hand also. It'll serve you well in the future for other things. So let's try to do this. And if there's a valid reason as why you shouldn't be doing this or you can't do this, you know, we'll figure out something. But just stick around today after class and we'll talk about it. Yes, I see Dana.
Dania.
Dania, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I wanted to ask about attendance for this class. Do we have to show up to this class every time we're on Zoom, or can we watch the videos later? Are we being recorded? It's a situation for me for work, you know, like if I can not, I don't want to say skip, but you know, I watch a recording for the class and then I'd be able to keep up like that.
Yeah, okay, so I've made the class available to people that can't show up. Because
Okay.
I will be recording the lecture portion and I will make it available,
Okay.
as well as I'm requiring that to get participation points, people will log in to the activities and do them on their own. So,
What do you mean by activities?
well, every class we're going to be doing activities, and I haven't got there yet because I'm still answering questions. But,
Oh, okay. So then for the activities that you're talking about, we can do them after, like, as in like on our own time. Like you explain, we watch the video, your recording of the class, and then we do the activities after as participation, right?
exactly. So if
Okay,
that's what
cool.
you want to do, then that's fine. But look, to be fair with everybody here, and I guess like it's, you know, an impetus of me to encourage you all to come to class, but to learn about the subject requires engagement. So, you know, I'm making it available for people if they can't attend the class, because I know some people are in different places in the world and have different conditions like work or whatever the case is. But if you can show up to the class, it'd be highly appreciated. And if you
Okay.
can't, then look, I've made it available for people so that you won't be penalized if you don't show up.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And you know, if you show up to class and you do the activities with us, you won't have to do them on your own later on. So you don't
Yeah,
have to
true. But depending on how my work ends up, you know, I can't really, because at the moment it's kind of complicated with this whole COVID thing and hours are really short. So they're really like asking us like, can you skip class to come into work kind of thing, you know? So I'm like, just gonna check.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, look, I see 5 more people with their hands raised. What I'm noticing is that maybe I just haven't covered the things that you're asking questions about, and it might be more clear later on once I go through the rest of what we need to do for the course. So if there's a real pertinent question that pertains to what I already described, please let me know now. And if not, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue through and then go back to questions afterwards, if that's okay.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yep.
Oh, question. I think someone already raised the thing about Moodle not showing up. And I was looking at the chat earlier. It seemed like there's actually quite a few people who have that issue. So I don't know if this is something that we want to solve. Like, I don't mind using your website because it's pretty clear, but just as for the sake of maybe having everybody have that access, I don't know if we want to do something about it.
Well, I'll let the department know. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. But now I let the department know and it's out of my hands. I see that you're all registered into the Moodle. It actually shows me that you're all active. So I upload the stuff basically by using their formula. You know, it says edit and then upload whatever I need to upload, but I have no control over participants. So I'm gonna let the department know and see if they could actually do anything about it. You know, hopefully this problem could be solved. In the meantime, though, I provided an alternative. So, you know, hopefully that this will be the next best thing and we could actually get you all involved in Moodle somehow. And, you know, to be fair, the reason why I have a website is because of this. It's happened so many times that students tell me this and I have no clue what to do about it. And I see you all active, but there's nothing I could do to change that. So anyhow, this is the workaround for now. Thank you very much, Taylor, for bringing that to my attention, and I'm going to let the department know.
Thank you.
Thanks. Is there any questions for right now also?
I'd just like to make an observation.
Yes, Bill.
Hello. Yes. Connecting with another professor, they said there was a major crash in Moodle too at Concordia in the past day or two, so there could be some issues there.
Yeah, well, thank you for letting us know that, Bill. My experience in over 10 years of teaching at Concordia is that Moodle has not been a very smooth platform for people to use. And ironically, actually, I constructed my own site instead of using Moodle because it was easier for me to figure that out. So Anyhow, but look, I'll do my best to make sure that you have access to Moodle and whatever you need access to. But, you know, next best thing, you just go to my site. Since I control the back end, there are never going to be issues to it unless my server goes down, and it doesn't really happen. So, all right, any other questions to the material that we've covered so far? Okay, I don't see anyone chiming in here. I know there's some messages in the chat. It's hard for me to keep up with all this with 100 people because I'm just going to be reading your comments. Let me go through the rest of the class, and then we're going to come back to questions. All right, so I have a schedule in place here, and it's got all of your readings and all of the books that you need to use for the readings. So I'm just going to show you the books. Some of you probably have either acquired them or, you know, my first email about the books. Here's one of them. Okay, this is the Urban Food Revolution. This is what we're going to be reading a number of chapters. We're going to be reading a number of chapters from this book. So this one would be really great if you could acquire it. Here's another one, The Essential Urban Farmer. This one here, we're going to be reading a few chapters from. We're not going to be reading the majority of the book. So depending on, accessibility or whatever, I know the library should have this. You might not be able, or you might not need to buy the full book if you don't want to. Although if this is urban agriculture, something that you want to do in the future, I would highly recommend you acquiring this book because it's actually extremely informative about all of the processes going into urban agriculture. And then another one is this one here. So this one we're going to read quite a few chapters from. So this is Urban Agriculture and the New Food Revolution, Food and the City. This one has some amazing examples, either across the world, but also coming from Canada too, that we're going to be learning about, and actually has a pretty good critique of the current food system, as well as a good introduction about urban agriculture. So as you notice in my readings when I go through, is that we're not necessarily going to follow a book from like beginning to end, but we're going to read bits and pieces as we go along that pertain to what we're doing in the class. So here's the schedule, and the schedule may or may not change. It's not going to change on the dates, but the activities and readings may change in the way that, look, if this is becoming, if the reading is too much for you to keep up with, I may reduce the reading. As you probably are noticing here, I'm quite ambitious and I really enjoy this topic, and I would like you all to do the same also. But I also want to make this realistic for you all. So if the readings are becoming difficult to keep up with, there are certain weeks, and just to point out a couple of them here, there's a couple weeks with a number of chapters. So I'm trying to manage this as best as possible, but I want to give you interesting material that will actually keep you keep you up to date with what's going on in urban agriculture, but also to entice you to understand this information and to be more involved. So look, we'll have conversations when we meet. If it becomes an issue that the readings are long and different things like that, we could discuss it. I'm trying my best to not put too many readings on you all. But yeah, you'll notice at the end, actually, it definitely reduces. So at the beginning, there's more information than there is at the end. Anyhow, look, we'll go through this. So each week, you're going to notice I have a link to the lesson. The lesson basically just has these links to them. So you're going to find the Zoom link for class every week on my website, a link to the attendance, which I'll show you right now. So if you go to the attendance, you should all be actually signing into this and at least putting in your names of the attendance. If you haven't done so, you could do so right now. I've noticed one person has done that. Hopefully you can actually all see my screen. I'm assuming that that is the case. But just go and sign in by clicking that link, putting your name in. And here you're going to notice name of breakout group. So every week when we meet, we're going to actually have breakout sessions. And you're going to actually put the name or number of your breakout room in there also, just so that I know that you're participating in the breakout sessions and not just kind of signing in, putting your name and taking off. And then when the breakout sessions, you're actually going to be keeping a template, and I'm just going to make sure that your name matches with the people that are in that room. So at the end of today at 2:30 when we're done, I actually close off the attendance, and I'm going to close off the breakout room so that you can't actually add more templates to it. Anyhow, and then I'll know who is in the class, and then anybody else that's going to do this on their own time, I'm going to have another folder for you to put that in also. So now I can see that some of you, I guess, are understanding how to put your name into an attendance sheet. Wonderful, good stuff. All right, so that's the attendance, and that's going to be there every week. Also, there's a link to the in-class activities. So every week I'm going to have in-class activities that you're going to participate in your breakout sessions. So as this is loading, what you're going to notice is that it's just a folder and it's going to have some templates in it. And what you are going to be doing when you get into your groups is you're going to be copy and pasting the template. You're going to make a new Google Docs in the folder that we're getting to here. And then you're just going to fill out in the activity templates, depending on the discussions with your group. So here you're going to see template 1, template 2. These here are only for viewing, so you can't actually edit the templates. But once you click on it, you could copy it. You could actually make a new folder here, so a new Google Doc folder in this folder right here. And then basically just copy and paste the template, and then you could go about having a discussion and answering the questions that I have. So the class is going to be interactive. You're going to be interacting with people in breakout rooms, and you're going to be actually answering different questions that I have available in the template. So every single week, you're going to notice that there's different activities that are going to be taking place. I don't want to lecture for like 3 hours. I want you to engage with the material and to discuss this also. So it's very simple. Actually, all the links are here on my site. So all you got to do is click on the links and you could actually participate with the group. And we're going to be doing this during class time. All right, so today there's no reading, obviously. But for next week, we're actually going to begin reading. So the first topic is Introduction to Urban Agriculture. I have 2 chapters from this book here, Food in the City, that you're going to be starting off with. So chapter 4 and chapter 5. Afterwards, we're going to look at what's wrong with our food system. So we need to contextualize why urban agriculture is actually an important topic now. There are many things wrong with the food system. You know, one class is probably not going to do this topic justice, but it'll give us a good starting point to understanding larger topics about food. So here I have, as you'll notice, quite a few chapters, but they're very short chapters. Most of the chapters are under 10 pages, okay? So hopefully you can keep up with this on the 25th, or, you know, get through the majority of it at least. Afterwards, we're going to get into things that are more practical. So right away, I want to get you into things that have to do with gardening and actually growing food. So this is coming from this book here. They have growing guides. They have guides as to, you know, how do we remediate our soil properly? How do we actually build growing boxes? How do we build, you know, garden beds? How do we deal with pests in the garden? And to the extent is, you know, at the end, they even look at, you know, how do we incorporate animals into it, which we're not going to get to. But what I do want you to know is, you know, how do you plant and raise vegetables and cultivate them and harvest them? And, you know, how do we remediate soil and how do we manage pests? Basically, how do we grow a garden? Some of you may be avid gardeners already, like Bill has mentioned, and some other people in the room. And some of you are probably starting from square one. So look, my challenge is to make sure this is challenging enough for the people that are avid gardeners, but also not too advanced for the people that are starting this for the first time, okay? So please bear with me, and I'm gonna do my best to make sure that I can meet all of your expectations. But just to kind of let you know also, there are a whole bunch of other books that you could get on your own. You know, here's just a couple. Here's a Canadian Guide to Gardening, you know, growing fruit trees. Here's a fruit tree gardening Bible. There's like here, growing vegetables. There's so many different resources. Edible and medicinal plants in Canada. Here's actually a permaculture book, Gaia's Garden, how to grow a little fruit tree. I have a lot of resources. Now look, to be fair about this, gardening is something that you don't just learn and then it's done. You have to keep learning it all the time. I've been doing this for 10 years and it blows my mind that I actually learn new things still every day. And you're never gonna stop learning. Now with this in mind though, it means that you can't just kind of build a knowledge base and that's it. it means that you're always going to have to be adapting your knowledge base. So it means that if you really want to get into gardening, I would highly suggest getting some resources that you could work with, because you're going to come up with some kind of a weed or a pest or something that you want to manage in your garden, and you're not going to have all of the information at your fingertips, because things happen quite new all the time in a garden. You know, for example, I lost a whole goji berry plant this year to aphids. Completely destroyed my plant, okay? It's the first year that's ever happened to me. I've had aphid problems before. You know, the good thing is it was contained to one of my plants as kind of the major problem. So, you know, we could think of that plant as a decoy plant. But the bad thing is I didn't get any goji berries this year. So I actually looked at solutions to the problem and did a lot of problem solving by doing additional reading of things that I probably wouldn't have read otherwise. So, you know, actually the solution to my problem is halfway through the summer, I actually cut the plant down to pretty much nothing. And the plant was super damaged to the extent that I don't think any other treatments would have saved the plant. So I don't know if anyone knows, but a goji berry is perennial. It keeps growing. It'll come back every year. So I counted my losses halfway through the year, cut the plant down to almost nothing, and then got rid of the plant itself because it was damaged to the top, especially the new growth. And actually now it's growing pretty well, and I've got flowers on it. So anyhow, my intervention seemed to have worked. I don't have any more aphids, and actually there were spider mites on it also. It was just really quite a problem. But, you know, with that in mind, I learned and adapted based on me looking things up on the internet, as well as, you know, consulting with my resources. All right, so we're going to learn actually about building soil, maintaining crops, and pest management also. It's actually quite important to know how to build soil. This is one of the more important things that you need to know when you're gardening. And actually, one of the major problems when it comes to world issues is that we're running out of arable soil on our planet. And it seems probably ridiculous to think about this if you've never thought about this before. You know, you go outside and you see dirt or earth, and a lot of people think, well, we could just plant in it. Well, no, we can't actually. You need certain conditions. You need arable soil. You need soil that has actually got some kind of fertility in it. It's got microorganisms, and it's got nutrients. And we're losing more soil today because of the industrial agriculture practices that we're practicing currently. So these are things that we should know in the bigger picture and hopefully put into practice by doing this on our own. All right, so localizing food via urban and suburban farming. So a lot of the discussion is gonna look kind of from a critical approach about relocalizing food. So look, it's really positive to be sustaining ourselves in our own communities. And yes, we definitely should be doing that. But we also have to think about the bigger picture too. And you know, we have to look at what we're trying to address altogether. If it's a matter of addressing production, like I told you, we could feed the world over about 1.5 times. So urban agriculture doesn't necessarily enhance the amount of production and the amount of food that's there, but relocalizes food and, you know, hopefully gets it to the places where it's really needed. Anyhow, so we're going to look at the Kovik garden as an example of relocalizing, because in Lachine, we actually have 5 farmers markets that, well, it's basically one farmers market that travels to 5 different locations in the community and sell the products from our garden, as well as from a garden in Saint-Ville, which is a suburban farm in the West Island. So we've relocalized food, basically kind of in the bigger picture. We are even localizing better distribution outlets because we have markets right in the middle of Lachine in different locations. But at the same time, at the end of the week, whatever's left over goes to a food bank. So we're kind of covering all these different bases where we're trying to make this market viable through economic means and basically selling some of the produce, but then providing provisions for people at food banks when we have surplus. So these are kind of regenerative approaches that would be, you know, hopefully highly adaptable in other locations also, and ways that we can make these projects viable and relocalize food, but then also understand that by making things local doesn't mean it's perfect either. Like we could have industrial practices that are localized, and it doesn't mean that it's good. Like, not to dwell on like people or whatever the case is, but you know, highly problematic landowners that have kind of monopolized some of the food industry in Montreal, mainly Peter Zergakis, and you know, their kind of bar, I don't know, they have a whole bunch of different Station des Sports bars and restaurants in all these locations. They've actually invested into rural farming, actually pretty close to Montreal, and are trying to relocalize their food also. And it's not to say good or bad, but we have to look at what the practices are over and above just being local. You know, are things organic? Are things actually being just grown in monocultures, or is there biodiversity being promoted? You know, and what kind of, who benefits from the surplus on these endeavors also? Is it just going to private industry, or does it go back into the community? So these are things we're going to be addressing when it comes to relocalization. And as you can see here, I have the dates for your due date for the blog posts and for your reading responses. Like literally all you have to do is click on the link and it brings up a thing to mail me your assignment. Okay, so the other topic that we're going to look at is making urban farms viable. So there are ways to make farms viable, and there are ways that it becomes difficult. Farming in general is a practice that is not paid its true value. A lot of farmers are actually working under subsistence wages, and this is extremely apparent if you actually look at the migrant laborers that are coming into Quebec and Canada. They're actually working in conditions that are quite appalling. You know, at the beginning of COVID, the big debate was, how do we get migrant farmers to come and work in Canada? When, you know, we have to address that these are issues of systemic racism. We're still relying on people to produce food for us in conditions that Quebec and Canadians don't want to subject themselves to. So, you know, we have to understand how to make farms viable. And one way to do that, and it sounds pretty ridiculous probably, is people have to pay the true value of food. And this is one way to sustain farms. Now that becomes difficult because farmers are continuously undercut. You know, with just bringing in people that'll work for cheaper wages. At the same time, the Canadian and Quebec government subsidize certain food, you know, from very large corporations, and a lot of this is going to export markets. So because it's being subsidized, they could actually undercut the costs of a lot of people that are actually producing food at true values, and it becomes very difficult to manage because most times consumers go to the cheapest products available. So anyways, we have to kind of understand how to make farms viable and look at the bigger picture on that also. We're going to look at community building through urban agriculture. So there's been quite a few valid critiques is that maybe urban agriculture is not the way that we should be feeding the world, although there are counter critiques to that also that I'm going to be bringing forward. But one of the major kind of points that a lot of these groups bring out is, you know, urban agriculture is less about food production and more about creating communities and creating environments where people can come together and, you know, discuss larger issues like politics or get to know each other or whatever the case is. Now, look, I don't want to downplay any of those things. I think there's importance to both of them. I do think that it is important to actually have urban production, especially in spin farming, small plot intensive farming. We could produce a lot in a very small environment. But at the same time, I think it's very important to create communities and connect people together. This is why when people are asking me, could I do my project in my individual backyard? Well, we could do that maybe as a blog post, but I do want people to connect with the community in the bigger picture also. Here, we're going to go into, afterwards, we're going to go into specific examples. So here we have November 6th, Roots of Modern Agriculture, or it should be Modern Urban Agriculture. We're going to look at an example coming from Paris and how Paris has set up urban environments that actually have edible landscapes and things that have come after that as well. So here we have examples from Canada. On the 20th, I have an example from Toronto. Unfortunately, the book doesn't have any examples from Montreal, but we're going to be doing that ourselves through the different assignments. And then we're going to have the last example is an example in Cuba, where actually they have amazing urban agriculture projects in Cuba, which actually I had the fortunate experience to go and visit. I did an internship in Cuba for about a month and actually went and visit in Havana some of the urban farms that they have there, but also stayed on, you know, I'd say the organic farm, but all the farms in Cuba are organic. So I stayed actually on a farm for about, you know, a week and a half or so, and got to experience what it is like living in, you know, in these environments and actually interacting with amazing food endeavors there. You actually look at permaculture and, you know, regenerative agriculture. Cuba is on top of the game when it comes to producing food. So we're going to look at some examples coming from different places in the world, as well as Canada. And then here bringing us to the last class, which is going to be kind of concluding, just wrapping things up, I have a chapter called Greening and Eating Our Cities. Now your last assignment is going to be due on December 11th, which is a week after class is done. Some of you might be able to do it before then, because if you're coming to the Kovic Garden, you might actually have done the hours necessary, as well as put the project together even before this date. So this is just the final date where I'm going to be accepting your assignments, but you could actually submit it before that also. And below this, I just put guides to different things that you have available at the university, academic rights, plagiarism. If you need anything from the Access Center, they're still open. And if there's any kind of particular conditions, please let me know. I'll do my best to assist everybody. And like I said, I don't have any kind of like proctored exams or anything that you're gonna have to think on the spot. You're gonna have time to do what you need to do. And usually, that's more conducive to people that would access the Access Center anyway. But if there's other things over and above, let me know and I'll do my best to accommodate you. I have, what we call basically a safe space classroom, or we can call it a safe space, a virtual classroom. When we're discussing certain, especially very highly, not controversial necessarily, but there are some very big issues when it comes to food, and we're gonna have to discuss these things. So I want this in an environment where people are able to express themselves without, being ridiculed or, without being, seen negatively by the people that we're having discussions with. But at the same time too, is that I don't want people to use derogatory language, any kind of like form of racist language or hate speech or anything like that either. That is not tolerated in the class. So if, hopefully this doesn't occur. I've never seen this happen so far, but just to let you know that that will not be tolerated. And if this comes up in any of the breakout rooms, I'd like to know, just because, we need to address these issues also. These are some of the things that we're going to be addressing when we're looking at deconstructing food. And I don't want this to be actually prevalent and, part of the class also. Anyhow. And also, land acknowledgement. Usually I'm acknowledging that Concordia is located on unceded Indigenous land. Technically, I am on unceded Indigenous land here in Lachine, and actually one of the first kind of colonized locations in Montreal. So, I do want to acknowledge that. And I don't know where you all reside in the world, but anyhow, you probably have circumstances of being on colonized land also. So anyway, look, this is the course itself. I'm just going to do a quick introduction about me and some of the projects that I'm doing, and then I want to hear from you for the rest of the class. So I'm going to flip it to questions and activities after that. All right, so just to show you quickly about the PhD project that I'm working on and basically wrapping up currently and going to be defending a thesis very soon. But here I have the Concordia Food Group's website, and hopefully you can all see this. I don't know what you're seeing on your screen right now. If you do not see the Concordia Food Group's website, someone at least flag me. Great, I'm just going to continue though. So Concordia Food Group's website, what I did is a qualitative assessment of all of the campus community food groups at Concordia. Part of the impetus for this project is Concordia has had food services with large multinational corporations like Sodexo, like Airmark and Chartwells. And, especially during COVID times, if you look at what Chartwells has done in some of the, the old folks residence centers, it's quite appalling some of the way that they profit off people by really cutting corners and, putting people into very bad conditions. Anyhow, in food also, they've been quite problematic. And these three are kind of the three big providers across Canada. And, what we're looking at is if food is a major issue and something that we need to change, well, why aren't universities taking an active role to actually creating better food conditions? This is an institution where we have learning and research and problem solving. So, we should be doing this in the way of food also. We should be looking at actually how to improve food systems, not theoretically, by actually doing it ourselves. So the thesis I'm writing is about building food sovereign campuses. How do we actually rid ourselves of these big multinational corporations and provide food services by the people that are teaching at Concordia, students themselves, and other people in the community? And these are really good examples of groups that already exist. So, I'm not just saying this in a vacuum that these things should exist. Well, Concordia, they already do. Just to show you the food system, I've devised a food system map. And basically what I've looked at is who's producing food on campus. So who are the groups that are growing food? Who is transforming food on campus? What groups are actually doing cooking and transformations and fermentation? What groups are actually managing waste on campus? And what groups are distributing food on campus? So you'll probably see here on your screen, this is the Concordia Food Groups map. And as you can see here, I have production. So basically who is growing food on campus, who is growing food off campus, and there's actually a group of Concordia students that were doing foraging. I also look at knowledge production. So how many groups are doing educational activities? How many groups are doing conferences? Then I look at processing. So which groups are doing food transformations? Distribution. Which groups have restaurants or cafeterias or cafes on campus? So here we have market-based, and very importantly, also non-market-based groups also, like the People's Potato. You don't actually need to pay money when you go there because it costs you like $8 on your undergraduate fee for the year to be able to eat for free, basically for free, you've already paid for it, but to eat every day without actually dishing out any money. This is a really great program, and there's other ones like the Hive Free Lunch and other things that are available on campus. Then we have other things like grocery store outlets that are market-based. City Farm School is a market, the Greenhouses and Seedling Sale, Frigo Vert exists. But then also ones that are non-market based, ones that actually give out food, like City Farm School deliver some of their food to the NDG Food Depot. I also looked at waste management initiatives on campus. Fortunately, we do not have a composter on campus where we used to back about 5 years ago, but now we actually ship our compost to Ontario and it's processed there, which we're actually trying to lobby Concordia to actually reinvest into composting on campus. And then I looked at support groups. So which groups actually help maintain the functioning of these organizations that I just showed you. All right, so this is the project that I'm doing right now at Concordia and currently writing up. Other things that I've done also, like I told you, I'm quite multifaceted and multidisciplinary. I actually put together a media co-op in 2006 that empowers youth to take it upon themselves to be able to produce their own films or videos or whatever they want to do multimedia-wise. I actually used to teach in elementary schools, and I developed these programs for elementary schools. They now exist in high schools, elementary schools, and through extracurricular programming. We actually have a summer camp that unfortunately didn't run this year because of COVID, but has run since 2007, as well as I have other programs, March break programs and other things that we're running also. I'm less implicated into this program now. I'm still on the board of the co-op. This is something that I founded in 2006, but now have kind of passed on the reins to other people that are doing the majority of the teaching, although I'm still involved with the project. Other things, I'm also part of the board of the Concordia Food Coalition, one of the groups actually on campus that looks at food initiatives. And that's a lot of information all at once. I think I'm talking at a screen at you here, and I'd like to get you all talking also. I want to share pictures of my garden, but right now they're on Facebook. So look, instead of me going through more about myself, I want to find out about you all. And maybe next class, I'll actually show you some of my garden pictures. Or if you want to, you could actually go to Facebook and take a look also. So let's start off this way, okay? I'm going to put you into breakout rooms, and you're going to have discussions with the people in your breakout room. What you're going to do is you're going to go to template 1, and you're going to answer the questions in template 1. So basically go there, and the questions really are catered to assessing your experience in this course. So here I could read them to you if this is going to load fast. But anyhow, so you go to template 1, copy it, put up a new Google Doc, paste that, and then have a discussion with the people in your group, and then basically just fill it out right there on the page. So here I have quite a few questions. You might not get through all of them, but I'm looking at you all taking about 20 minutes to do this. So the first thing, please take turns introducing yourself to the group. Please copy and paste the template and create a new file. What's your experience with urban agriculture? What's your experience growing plants, fruits, and vegetables? How would you rate your knowledge of horticulture? What do you know about the food system? And what is the food system? I kind of just showed you before, so I'm giving away a little bit of my answers, but that's okay. What are some issues with our current food system that you're aware of? What do you think do you think urban agriculture could solve some of the issues that you've listed above? What are your favorite foods, and what foods do you not like? Do you transform or compost food? As you know, or as you'll come to know, anybody that's working in urban agriculture, it's easy to produce things. A lot of the time, we're trying to figure out what to do with the food because once food starts to be plentiful, you need to transform it or you need to do something with it. And sometimes the back end becomes difficult. I actually have a food dehydrator because I produce way more food than I can handle as fresh food. So I dehydrate a lot of my food. That's highly recommended for people that work in highly productive gardens. But there's other ways of like fermenting, pickling, and other ways of transforming food like canning. Then here are more specific questions about farming and gardening. This is more assessing your knowledge about urban agriculture in general. So what do you know about soil remediation? What do you know about nutrients? What do you know about plant hardiness? What do you know about farm and garden pests and how to prevent crop loss? What do you know about irrigation? What do you know about companion planting? What do you know about crop rotations? What do you know about when to transplant plants into a garden or when to seed certain plants in the garden? What do you know about succession planting, which you might not know anything about, but I'm going to teach you about that also. What do you know about harvesting plants? Like when do you harvest certain plants? And what do you know about garden design? And let's start you off before I put you into the breakout room. And this is a trivial question that probably a lot of you don't know the answer to. What's the difference between a fruit and a vegetable? Who could chime in and let me know that?
Fruit has seeds.
Okay, so what?
I know that tomatoes are fruit and not a vegetable.
Okay, good. So yes, we've established tomato is definitely
And so is an avocado. An avocado is a fruit.
Yes. So what is particular about a fruit that's different than a vegetable?
I just know that those two are, they look like vegetables, but they're totally fruits.
Great. Yeah, Chloe, thank you for that. For sure, yes. Someone else was chiming in. Yep.
The seed is in the part that you eat, right?
For sure, yeah. So in a fruit, you have the seeds in the part that you eat. Now, here's actually the easiest way to really find out. A fruit is something that grows off a plant. You eat, you pick it off. Like a cucumber is a fruit. A tomato is a fruit. The vegetable becomes the plant itself, okay? So when you're eating spinach or you're eating the thing right from the plant, that's a vegetable. Now, there's other particularities with that. Also, fruits, actually, the seeds grow within kind of the fruit area where in a vegetable, it's usually going to seed in some other mechanism by flowering or producing pods or whatever the case is. But yes, the difference between a fruit and a vegetable is a fruit is something that grows off a plant, and the vegetable, you eat the plant. So great, basic kind of question to get you started off with. I'm going to put you into groups right now. I know that some of you may have questions. What I'm going to do is just get you interacting with each other. We're going to come back. We're going to go over some of these questions. I'm going to address questions, and then I have one last breakout to do afterwards. So,
sorry, I'm confused. How are you going to break us into groups?
Well, I have a function right here that says make breakout rooms. So right now I'm going to make breakout rooms with 4 people per room. It's going to instruct you to go into a room, and then basically you're just going to appear magically in this room with about a couple other people. You know, I would love to have large conversations with you all, but I know, you know, we're close to 100 people. There's 70 people in the room right now. If I give you all a minute to talk, that's over an hour. So it's going to be very difficult to manage large conversations. I'm going to have to manage a lot of this in smaller conversations. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce around to the different rooms and hopefully get to know some of you. Right now, it's going to assign 69 people into 18 rooms. And in 20 minutes, I don't see myself getting to 18 rooms. So I'm going to try my best to come meet you all. But if not, if I don't see you in this session, I'm going to have to meet you at another point.